Hi, hello, welcome to Narayan IS. This is Karthik Muni. I'm here for daily news analysis for 13th February 2024. For today's session, I have picked up 5 important articles. The first article is taken from page number 17 of Indian Express, titled Jail and Bail Under Unlawful Activities Prevention. So from this article, we are going to discuss the provisions, important provisions in the legislation, and also we are going to discuss the need for having such legislation and also issues surrounding the statute. So exam point of view, these are the dimensions are very important. And moving ahead, the second article is also from Indian Express, page number 12, the snapshot of turbulence. So in this article, I'm going to discuss the Union government's recent measure to end the free movement regime across the border between India and Myanmar. Right? Moving ahead, we are having an article from page number 13 of Indian Express, a science for us. So in this article, I'm going to discuss the Union government's measure to increase the participation of women in research and development. Moving ahead, we are also having another article related to the women empowerment. It is taken from page number 6 of Hindu newspaper, a global alliance to bridge the gender equity gap. So finally, we are going to discuss an article from the Science and Technology. It is taken from the science column of Hindu newspaper. Earth-wide telescope confirms black hole's shadow is real. So in this article, we are going to discuss the basic details about the Events Horizon Telescope, and also we are going to discuss an important concept called gravitational lensing. Finally, we'll be discussing 5 prelims practice question and also 1 mains practice question. So please watch the video till the end of the session. So if you like this initiative, please hit the like button and also click the bell button. So first, we have an article related to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So exam point of view, it is very important. We are going to discuss the provisions related to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and also most importantly, we have to know about the need for having such statute. And also we have to know about the issues surrounding such legislation. So within the UPSC syllabus, it covers under GS paper 3, challenges to internal security. We also had a previous year question on this topic in 2019 regarding the government measures in strengthening the anti-terrorism legislations. So it strengthened the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and NIA Act. And also we can expect similar question in the upcoming examination, because this topic is very important for the UPSC examination with the analysis based directives. So that's why we are discussing this topic. Coming to the context, recently the Supreme Court denied the bail petition to the Gurvinder Singh. So he was accused for the involvement of banned terrorist organization, that is Seek for Justice. This organization is actively supporting the secessionist movements, the Khalistan movements in Punjab. Right? And also the Apex Court highlighted the material evidence suggesting Singh's involvement in the accusation. And also, the Apex Court highlighted 4 important aspects. First one is getting bail, and second aspect, proof of eligibility, and third aspect is delay in trial, and fourth aspect is release and risk. Citing the gravity of the issue, unlike other cases, bail as a rule cannot be considered for the cases under Unlawful Activities Prevention. So this is the first aspect the court highlighted. And second dimension is proof of eligibility to avail bail falls under the accused. So this is the second dimension. And third dimension, so the delay in the trial proceeding cannot be seen as a ground for availing the bail. So this is the third aspect that I have to highlight. And finally, the release and the consequences. So release of accused have a tendency to influence the key witness. In this aspect, there is a possibility of affecting or hampering the justice. So these are the 4 areas which was highlighted in the judgment. So from this context, we are going to discuss the provisions and need for having the legislation, and finally we are going to discuss the issues. So coming to the provisions, first we have to know about the aim and also important provisions such as section 3 and section 43D, and also we have to know about the punishment and 2004 and 2019. So main aim and objective of this legislation is to effectively prevent the unlawful activities by the individuals, by the organization which are intended to affect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. So this is the major objective, and section 3 talks about the central government's authority to declare any organization or association as unlawful. And section 43D talks about the bail provisions. The bail provisions are highly stringent in nature, and also it explicitly mentioned that the court will give opportunity to the public prosecutor to oppose the bail application. And also punishment, it used to award the highest punishment. It used to award death sentence or lifetime imprisonment. Coming to the amendments, in 2014, the Terrorist Act was included. Previously, only the secessionist tendency was included as unlawful activities, but after 2004, this Terrorist Act was included into the legislation. And finally, in 2019 amendments, the central government was given authority to label any individuals as terrorists, and also gave power to NIA to search and seizure, and also new items have been included in the list of circumstances to define their terrorist activities. So these are some of the basic provisions that we have to know from the exam point of view. Aim is important, and also we have to know about the bail provisions, we have to know about the punishment, and also the most recent amendments. Moving ahead, we are going to discuss the need for regulation. So first and important aspect is counter-terrorism. So this legislation aids counter-terrorism activities by giving the legal basis for preventing and prosecuting and eliminating the terrorist activities to disrupt the territorial integrity and national sovereignty. Right. Second aspect, to prevent the to take the preventive measures. So this legislation facilitates the proactive actions or proactive measures by the government to tackle such incidents in advance. So that is also possible. Third aspect, legal framework. So it gives the legal basis for detaining and prosecuting the individuals who are tried under the terrorist activities. And fourth important aspect is facilitating the cooperation with others. Having such legislation helps India to align with the international practices and conventions. In this aspect, it will help India to ensure coordination between the nations in the global arena to tackle terrorism. And fifth aspect is enable coordination. So this is very important. So many institutions are involved in investigation and prosecuting the terrorist activities. In this aspect, this legislation will facilitate the cooperation between the investigation and prosecuting agencies, and also with the intelligence agencies. In this aspect, this legislation help the union government to take action or to enhance the capability of the government to respond to the terrorist activities in a rapid manner. So now we have to know about the issues. The first and important aspect is misuse. So misuse of such legislations to stifle the political dissent and also to target the dissenting voices from activists and journalists. So in this aspect, it will affect the freedom of speech and expression that was protected under the fundamental rights of the Indian Constitution. That's the first dimension. Second aspect is lack of transparency in detention. So detention is a problem, and also most importantly, long-term detention. So having such long-term detention will raises the question of transparency and adherence to the due process. And third important aspect is ambiguous definition of illegal activities. The definition of unlawful activities is open-ended in nature, and it is giving the scope for subjective interpretation. So subjective interpretation will open the avenues for misuse. So this is the third important problem. And fourth important problem is federal outreach, right? This legislation is giving more power to the investigation agencies such as National Investigation Agency in order to investigate, prosecute, and also search and seize. In this aspect, this affects the jurisdiction of police agencies in the state. Thus, it affects or it raises the question of federalism as well. The fifth aspect is access to bail. So, getting bail is highly difficult under this legislation. So, here I have to highlight two things. The burden of proof of eligibility to get bail falls on the accused. That is the first aspect. And also second dimension, the public prosecutor was given chance to oppose the bail application. In this aspect, the denial of bail is possible. So, here it is affecting the accused right to have a legal process. So, this we have to consider. And sixth aspect is low conviction rate and judicial delays. As per the PUCL 2022 report, the conviction rate is very low. And also, it is criticized for the judicial delay. The slow trial process of NIA code is the reason for the judicial delays. This is also a problem. And finally, unreported crime incidents in some cases. For example, cases reported under Section 18, which involves the training of terrorists. So here, the around 64% of the charges are not documented properly. In this aspect, it raises the question for the basis and legality of such charges. So these are some of the issues that we have to consider for the exam point of view. And now we have to know about the way forward. So first aspect, prioritizing the counter-terrorism. Yes, territorial integrity and sovereignty of India is very important. So state has to prioritize the government's capabilities to eliminate, prevent, and prosecute such terrorist activities. And while doing so, the government also have to ensure the balance between the individual's freedom and the national security. This is critical. This balance is highly critical because we have to ensure the conflicting interest of securing the individual's rights and also the national security. So for that, we have to define the boundaries. We have to make the guidelines in a proper manner, and also we want to ensure the law enforcement officers following the objectives and integrity of the statutes. And most importantly, we have to ensure that the legislation is working within the scope of constitution. That is very important. Compliance to the constitutional provisions is very important. And most importantly and finally, the role of judiciary is very important. So judicial oversight is very important. So judiciary have to work meticulously to prevent the irrational use of such legislation, and also have to align the legislation as a whole that it is proportionate to its objective. So next we are going to discuss an article related to the India-Myanmar relationship. So exam point of view, it is very important. Whenever there is an issue or whenever the government is taking any measures that impacting the relationship of India with the neighboring country, then we have to pay attention. So that's why we are discussing this article. Exam point of view, it is very important. Coming to the context, recently the Indian government proposed to have a fence of around 1,650 km long India-Myanmar border. So in this aspect, it will end the free movement regime across the border between India and Myanmar. So this is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know about what is meant by free movement regime. And also we have to know about why we are having this, why we had this free movement regime. And also we have to know about the status of the state governments regarding this move. And also we have to know about the pros and cons of ending free movement regime, right? So coming to the article, first aspect, what is free movement regime? So it is a facilitation measures made for the tribal group residing on both sides of the international border between India and Myanmar to visit the other territory up to 16 kilometers to have the cultural cooperation. So it is basically a facilitation measures for the tribal group. So we have to know about the number. It is 16 kilometers. So most important aspect that this travel can be possible without any documents, that is proper documents, visa and passport. So this is what we call it as free movement regime. So now we have to know about why we are in need of this mechanism, right? So historically, the political boundaries are not settled by the local people. So in this aspect, the political boundaries are not complying with the ethnic boundaries. So now this barrier we have to address, we have to facilitate the measures to enhance the cooperation, to have the peaceful or comfortable cultural relationship of the tribals with their kinship. So for this aspect, we came up with the mechanism called free movement regime. So this is the need for having such measure. So now we have to know about the status of the state governments. So 4 states are sharing international boundary with Myanmar. So first one is Arunachal Pradesh, then Nagaland, then Manipur, then Mizoram. 4 states: Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. So here, except Manipur, like all other states are silent in extending support for this movement. And also, most importantly, the states such as Nagaland and Mizoram is voiced against this initiative. So they wanted to stop this initiative, and it is rising voice against the union government. So this is the status of these states for this measure. So now we have to know about the internal dynamics of the Myanmar to understand the situation better. So Myanmar is a multi-ethnic country composed of 7 ethnically designated states and regions. So within that, the composition of the population, the Burmans are majority, they constitute around 68%, and most of them are Buddhist. And apart from that, we are having the tribal communities such as Shans, Karens, Rankins, Kachins, Chins, Vas and Palags and Nagas. So these are some of the tribal communities which are there in the Myanmar. So apart from the Burmans, these are some of the communities, tribal communities. So now we have to know about the political conditions of the Myanmar. So it is clear and evident that the Myanmar is facing the political instability, right? In the recent past, the election was conducted based on 2008 constitution. As per the 2008 constitution, the half of the seats will be filled by the election and half of the seats will be filled by the candidates nominated by the junta, right? So in this aspect, the National League for Democracy formed the government, but in 2021, the government was disrupted, right? As a consequence, the tribals grouped under the name of People Democratic Front, and it is resisting against the junta government. So this is the internal dynamics of the Myanmar. So here the problem of political instability is creating the problem of insurgency and extending the problem to the Indian territory as well. So this we have to understand. Now we have to know about the pros and cons of ending the free movement regime. So first aspect is enhancing the security. The demand for exclusive homeland for the tribals, so ethnic territory, is increasing in both the nations, both in the northeastern states of India and also in the Myanmar. So here it will end up in the insurgency movement and it will create the problem for national security. So such free movement, the ending the free movement regime curtail the insurgency movement, and in this aspect it enhances the national security. And apart from the insurgency movement, it also helps to curb the illegal activities such as smuggling, right? So this is from the security point of view. And second aspect, in regulating the immigration. So this measure, the ending the free movement regime, will help the immigration in a proper format. So legalizing the immigration with the proper documentation will be there. So in this aspect, it ensures the clarity of citizenship for any person, right? So having a clarity will help or will reduce the arbitrary detention of the tribals. So these are some of the positives of ending the free movement regime, but we also have to think about the negatives as well. We also have a cons on the other hand, right? So first aspect, impacts of local communities. So the communities are integrated. They are culturally integrated, they are ethnically integrated, and they are even economically integrated. The daily lives of the local community is getting affected. So access to the families across the boundary is getting affected, and access to the market is getting affected. Access to the religious site is getting affected. So in the aspects, it is impacting the local community. The second aspect is economic disruption. The economic trade, the goods trade between the borders, across the border, is happening in the informal manner. So the volume of the trade is also significant, that we have to understand. So if you are ending the free movement regime, then it automatically disrupts the economy. The economic trade is happening across the border, right? And third important aspect is humanitarian issues. Yes, the Myanmar is facing the issue. The ethnic issue is happening. Even in India, the Manipur, we are facing issue, right? The ethnic, the group which are in need of support, are in need of humanitarian aid, are in need to move across the boundary, will get affected. In this aspect, the humanitarian issue is also there. And finally, cultural exchange. Yes, free movement regime is helping the cultural exchange and also helps in strengthening the social bond. If we are ending the free movement regime, this will weaken the cultural exchange between the regions. So these are some of the negative aspects that we have to consider. In India, the February 13th, the birth anniversary of Sarojini Naidu, we are celebrating this event as a National Women Day. In this context, this article talks about the women empowerment. So exam point of view also, it is very important. So we have to relate this with the women participation in STEM fields, and also larger point of view, we have to relate this topic to the women empowerment. So exam point of view is very important. We also had a previous year question in 2021 and also in 2016. In 2021, there was a question, apart from the women education and women empowerment schemes, what interventions the government has to take to address the gender gap? And in 2016, there was a question related to the gender. So women related topics are very important. Whenever there is a topic related to women empowerment, we have to pay attention, because we can expect some questions in both prelims as well as mains examination. So that's why we are discussing this article. So moving ahead, coming to the context, recently the Union government launched a portal named Swati, the Science for Women, a Technology and Innovation. It was launched during an occasion of International Day of Women and Girls in Science that was held on February 11. So from this context, we have to know about the basic details of the portal, and also we have to know about the status of women participation, and also we have to know about the factors influencing the gender gap, and finally we have to know about the government intervention to address this gender gap. Moving forward, we have to know about the portal. So recently, All India Survey for Higher Education was released. In that, there are two important aspects that we have to know. One is the women participation in the STEM fields are comparatively low, and also especially the women participation in postdoctoral research is very low. The condition is pathetic and the numbers are very low. Right? So now the government have to take intervention to fix this problem. So for that we need data. So in this aspect, the government came up with a portal called Swati. So it is a comprehensive data set which tends to collect the information, comprehensive information of women of all stages, from academics and industries, from all the career stages and all the subjects. A comprehensive data was collected. The purpose of collecting this data is to address the gender gap in the science segment, and also it helps us to for the policy making. And also, most importantly, this data will help us to understand, to do research on equality, inclusivity, and diversity. An exam point of view, we have to know about one more fact, that this particular portal is developed, hosted, and maintained by an institute called National Institute of Plant Genome Research. There is a possibility that students tend to mistake, so please note it down. So this is about the portal. So now we have to know about the statistics on gender gap in science in India. So here I want to highlight three important aspects. One is women researchers, and then the women participation or women STEM workforce and also the leadership position. So with respect to the women researchers, the numbers are very low. It is somewhere around 14 to 16%. So women constitute the 50% of the population, but their participation in the research is comparatively low. This number is very low when compared to the global numbers, somewhere around 30%. Right. Second aspect, it is STEM workforce. The female participation in the STEM workforce is 27%. This is also low, right? So when compared to these two parameters with the leadership position, in the leadership position, the women participation is very low. So these data are very important. So it will be helpful for us to justify our answer in the mains examination. So now we have to know about the factors contributing to the gender gap. So Indian point of view, the social and cultural norms are very important. Being a patriarchal society, having a patriarchal mindset, we are expecting the women to prioritize the household chores rather than the career. It is acting as a hurdle for the women participation. The second aspect, the system itself, there is a problem. There is an unconscious bias in the scientific community itself. The bias will create a problem, hurdle for the women participation in hiring, promotion, getting access to the opportunities. The third important aspect is lack of support network. The mentoring support is very much important for the women to get participated in the STEM fields. Right here, the existing system is having a very less scope for such mentoring. So that is also another problem. And finally, the leaky pipeline. Throughout the career, either in the education or in the employment, there is a possibility that women tend to lose or get out of the science segment in all the stages. There is a possibility. It is because of lack of childcare, lack of support from the family, and also unfavorable work conditions. So these are some of the factors that we want to highlight for the reasons influencing the gender gap in the science sector. So now we have to know about the initiatives taken by the government. So three major specific interventions for the women participation. One is Kiran, that is knowledge involvement in research, advancement through nurturing. And second one is Gati, gender advancements in transitioning institutes. And finally, Vigyan Jyoti scheme. So all three interventions are targeting the women participation. In Kiran, under Kiran, the union government under Department of Science and Technology is providing grants and opportunities for the women who took the break in their career. Right. Second one is Gati, transforming the institutions. So here, this initiative, it is a pilot project meant to bring equity in the STEM segment. And finally, Vigyan Jyoti scheme, here it is supporting the young girls to take participation in the science sector. So next article is also related to the women empowerment. So in the previous article, we discussed only the women participation in the science sector. But here in this article, we are going to discuss the larger dimension. So UPSC point of view, gender equality and equity, and the measures that are in need to ensure the equality. So those aspects we are going to cover. So coming to the context, the union government is taking active efforts to ensure the socio-economic empowerment of the women. So recently, this was showcased by many initiatives such as New Delhi Leaders Declaration and also the Alliance for the Global Good, Gender Equality and Equity. So from this context, we have to know about the India's achievements in terms of in addressing the gender gap, and also we have to know about the existing challenges, and also we have to know about the possible suggestions that we have to take to address this gender gap. So moving forward, we have to know about the achievements. So we have to know, or we have to think from two different dimensions. One is political dimension, another one is socio-economic dimensions. Political dimensions, India is taking active measures. Recently, the 106 Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. In this aspect, the participation of women in the legislature, Lok Sabha, as well as the state legislatures ensured 1/3 of the seats were reserved. In this aspect, the political participation of women is ensured. So this is the first dimension I want to highlight. In second dimension, financial aspect, India as a whole, the gender-based budgeting, the finance which are allocated for the women empowerment is comparatively increased. So when we look at the number that was committed in the budget of 2023-24, it is $27 billion. And economical point of view, that is socio-economic development point of view, the self-help groups are very important, because self-help groups are very important for the women development and also rural development. So these two are interrelated also, right? Look at the number, around 9 crore women are enrolled in the self-help groups and are getting benefited from 83 lakh self-help groups, right? It helps for the socio-economic development of the women, and also it helps the society to bring this section, marginal section, out of poverty as well. And finally, one more number, the female labor force participation rate. This is also improving, and it is 37% in 2022-23. 37%. The number is reasonably good, right? These are the achievements that we have to know. So these numbers, why we are discussing exam point of view, we should have a solid justification that India is moving towards, or India is trying to address the gender gap by taking these many efforts. So these are justification. So factual backing that we have to know. So second aspect, still we are facing some issues. The first and foremost aspect is patriarchal attitude. This attitude itself is a problem. Being a patriarchal society, it limits, there are prejudices which limits the women to attain the leadership position. So look at the number, Inter-Parliamentary Union report, the women, the participation is only 14.44% in the Lok Sabha. Yes, this is the previous case, but we took effort, the constitutional amendment was there. So over a period of time, this will get addressed in near future. And second aspect, the existence of stereotypes and prejudices. Even in the textbooks, like we are having some gender discriminatory statements are there, that the women are suitable for these jobs. Such statements are discriminatory in nature. So in order to bring a wider change, those the statements in such textbooks has to be changed, right? So this is the second aspect. And third aspect is economic issue, right? Double burden and the glass ceiling effect. Yes, women are facing the problem of double burden. They want to take the responsibility of household chores, and also they have to take the responsibility of career. So in this aspect, most of the women tend to get out of from their career, right? In this aspect, it is affecting the economical, socio-economic status of the women, and also the glass ceiling effect. Look at the number. So only 10.4% of Fortune's 500 companies are led by the women CEOs, which means reaching to that level is very difficult for the existing social barriers hinders women to reach such leadership position. So only when we are ensuring the women in the leadership position, then we can expect the larger change. And also payment also, there is a problem. Look at the number, gender gap report. Out of every dollar, 82 cents are earned by them. It is skewed in nature. Most of the income earned by the men, which means income aspect, there is a huge disparity. The disparity is very high, that we have to know. And also the social capital. The social capital needed for the participation of women is also comparative. So we have to create avenues for the women to get the required skills. And also the violence. So gender-based violence are very high. So this acts as the hindering factor, that it will reduces the motivation for the women to participate in the society, right? So look at the NCRB data. The violence against the women is increasing. In 2020, the number is 56.5. Now it is 64.5% in 2021 per lakh population, right? So the violence is also increasing, which means the violence against the women can also influence the women in a negative aspect to participate in the economy, to participate in the society, to participate in the politics. These are some of the challenges that we have to address. So now, suggestive measures. So we have to change the mindset of the leadership position. So they have to accept, and the persuasion, social persuasion and social acceptance has to be there. Then only we can bring a broader change. The leadership position, the minds of the leaders has to be changed, right? And we have to take the affirmative actions. The targeted affirmative actions for the women empowerment has to be increased. For that, we have to increase the budget. So we have to allocate more finances for the women related issues. And apart from that, the equity in the payments. The rules, labor rules has to be strengthened to ensure the equitable pay for the equal work. So that is very much important to ensure to eliminate the discrimination in the income levels. And most importantly, we have to work on the education. So literary levels of the women has to be increased. As per the 2011 census, the total literacy rate is 74%, but the literacy rate among women is 65.46%, which means there is a huge gap between the men literacy rate among men and women. This gap has to be addressed. Only when we are educating our girls, or only when we are educating our women, then only we can expect the broader social change. So next we have an article related to the science and technology. It titled, Earth-wide telescope confirms black hole's shadow is real. So the title itself is giving some idea. Earth-wide telescope. Why it is named as Earth-wide telescope, that we have to know, right? So exam point of view, we have to know about two important things. One is about the telescope, and also we have to know about the gravitational lensing, the concept of gravitational lensing. We also had a previous year question in 2022 regarding the James Webb Space Telescope. So in the upcoming examination also, we can expect some similar questions in the prelims as well as the mains examination. So coming to the context, the Event Horizon Telescope first captured the image of black hole in 2019. The black hole was located at the center of M87 galaxy. And after that, some improvements were made in the telescope, and now in 2023, we captured the new image. The details which we got in the new image, there is a consistency with the previous image. So that is the context of this article. From this context, we have to know about the basic details about the telescope, and also we have to know about the concept of gravitational lensing. So the telescope, so here I want to highlight three important aspects. One is, this is helpful for the observation of black holes, one. And second one, it is helpful to take the direct visual images. So visual evidence for confirmation of the existence of black hole are possible from this telescope, second dimension. And third aspect is that the details which we got from the images includes the idea of event horizon. So event horizon is nothing but the boundary around the black hole. So whenever any object, including the light, when it passes or when it crosses this boundary, it will get attracted by the black hole. So this is what we call by the name event horizon. So apart from that, we have to know about the functioning. So it is nothing but a network of telescopes, network of radio telescopes. So these radio telescopes are distributed all across the globe, and also it used to collect information in a synchronous fashion, and it is used to work on the principle of very long baseline interferometry, right? So in this aspect, this functioning, this simultaneous functioning helps us to mimic the planetary size telescope. It acts as a planetary size telescope. So here the size is very important. So whenever if we are taking images of distant bodies, the resolution is very important. Such a big size telescope helps us to take images in a high resolution. So this is the significance of this telescope. So now we have to know about the concept of gravitational. So it is a phenomena of bending of the light. Whenever a light is passing along with the massive body, the attraction, the gravitational attraction of the massive body tend to deflect or bend the light. So this phenomena is what we call it as gravitational. So here it is named as lens. Why? Because this property is very important for the lens. Whenever the light passes through a lens, it tends to bend the light. So here also the phenomena is mimicking the normal lens, right? So now we have to know about the Einstein ring. So here Einstein ring is the manifestation of the previous concept. So it is giving the example, the perfect manifestation or evidence for the gravitational lensing. Whenever three important bodies like the source of the light, the lens that is black hole, and the observer that is Earth are aligned in a perfect fashion, because of the bending of the light, because of the gravitational lens effect, a ring will get formed around the lens. So this is what we call it as Einstein ring. So exam point of view, it is also very important. These concepts are prescribed by the Einstein's theory of general relativity. According to this theory, the gravitation or the gravity is not a force. Listen, according to the theory of general relativity, the gravity is not a force. Instead, gravity is a space-time curvature, and it is happening because of the mass and energy of a body, right? So it is not only because of the mass, it is also because of the energy of that particular body. Now let's try some prelims practice question. Coming to the first question, consider the following statements regarding the black holes and the researchers onto it. The Event Horizon Telescope is a group of radio telescopes across the world working synchronously. Yes, this statement is right. Second statement, this technique helps us to create a Earth-sized interferometer to measure the size of the emission regions of supermassive black holes. Yes, it is also right. So we already discussed. So we are using the group of radio telescopes which are working simultaneously across the globe. So in this aspect, we are mimicking the telescope as a Earth-sized telescope. Why it is needed? To improve the resolution of the images. So both the statements are right. So we are going with the option C. Both the statements are correct. Yes, option C is right. Coming to the second question, consider the following statements. The gravitational lensing was prescribed by the Einstein's theory of general relativity. Yes, this statement is right. The Einstein ring is a manifestation of the gravitational lens concept. Yes, both the statements are correct. So we are going with the option C. Both the statements are correct. Yes, option C is right. Third question regarding the Swati portal. So the objective of the portal, A, enhancing the women representation and participation in the political arena. No. Promoting and supporting the involvement of women in the science and technology field. Yes, this is the objective. Swati, the name itself suggests that the science for women, yeah, technology and innovation. Technology and innovation, right? So here the name itself, we can able to identify that this is the objective. So we are going with the option B. Yes, B is right. Coming to the fourth question, consider the following statements. The Constitutional Amendment Act 106 Amendment Act 2023 seeks to reserve 1/3 of all seats for women in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Yes, this statement is right. So first statement is right. It provides a separate quota within the reserved seats to SC, ST and OBC. No, it is wrong. And the 24th Lok Sabha election will be the first time this amendment will be implemented. No, this is also wrong. So we are going with the option A, one only. Yes, answer A is right. Last prelims question. So with respect to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967, consider the following statements. Under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, both Indians, foreign nationals can be charged. Yes, it is right. It will be applicable to the offenders in the same manner even if a crime is committed on a foreign land outside India. Yes, this is also right. There is a possibility that we tend to do mistakes here, but the statement is right. Second statement, the Offence Terrorist Act was not included in the original legislation. Yes, originally the act, the unlawful activities defines only the secessionist tendencies, insurgencies tendencies, but only in the 2004 Amendment Act, the word terrorist act was included. So second statement is also correct. We are going with the option C. Both 1 and 2 statement are correct. Yes, answer is C. So now let's try one mains practice question. Discuss the significance of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, the first dimension. Analyze the key challenges, second dimension, and suggest measures. So it is a 15-mark question. So we have to answer it within 250 words. So the question itself clear. So it is having 3 different parts: significance, challenges, and measures. Try to give equal weightage to all 3 parts. So for the introduction, try to start with a brief idea of the act itself. So we can mention the aims and objectives of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So this can be a possible introduction. Then in the body part, 3 categorization: significance, challenges, and suggestions. Significance, what we can do is we can mention the legal basis for the counterterrorism. We can mention that this can be the legal statute can be seen as the international compliance, and also this helps us to ensure the cooperation between the law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies. So challenges: possibility of misuse, transparency issue we have to mention. So transparency issue when it comes to the detention, and also issues related to the bail also we have to mention. So as a suggestion, so what we have to do is sensitizing the law enforcement agencies to stick to the objective and integrity of the bill, and also we have to bring the procedural clarity to reduce the scope for subjective interpretation, and finally complying with the constitution principles, right? So this can be the body part of the answer. And finally, in a conclusion, so we have to summarize that the national security is also important, and also individual freedom is also important. So we have to find a balance. So this can be a possible conclusion. So thanks for watching. So that's the end of the session. Do like, share, and comment the video, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you.